Hello and welcome to an incredibly horrible day outside. It's really bucketing down. It's like a 8 or 9 out of 10 on the Mankey weather scale. Now, Mankey weather doesn't mean that it's heavy rain, it just means that it's horrible rain. It's now heavy rain, but it was horrible when I took the dog out for a walk. It sort of feels like someone's massaging your face with a cold, wet fish. It's not very nice. So yes, a horrible day outside, but why am I making this video? Well, it's been a busy week. I've been catching up with emails and contacts and conversations and ArchaeoSoup stuff, doing research for upcoming videos, so on and so forth. It's been a busy week. It's amazing how much stuff piles up if you go away for a week. But I really wanted today just to talk to you briefly about the SS Nomadic, actually. When we were away in Northern Ireland, we actually went for a visit to Belfast, and there's this ship which has been saved. It's the last surviving White Star Line ship, and it was built in conjunction with the Titanic and the Olympic to serve as a passenger ship, a tender for people boarding the Titanic from northern France. And it was very, very, very funky. Now, should explain, it's actually in a dry dock very, very close to where the Titanic and the Olympic were built. Recently, they built something called, I think, the Titanic Experience or Titanic Belfast or something. A museum there, anyway, which is like this four-winged structure, which actually is the same scale as the bow of the Titanic. So it gives you a real sense of the scale of that thing. And actually, also, they mark out the ships, the outline of the sister ships, on the slipway running out towards the lock. So, very, very cool sight. And we went into the Titanic Experience, but it was extremely full. And we thought, well, we have connections. We can come back, have a family visit, and see this thing in the off season. So let's do that. We did have a look in the gift shop there, and boy, do they know how to dole out the cheese. They they had was it the Heart of the Ocean, the little necklace from the Titanic movie. They had these really dodgy sort of ceramic models, very overpriced for the Titanic. Fairly funky postcards, dodgy T-shirts, borderline distasteful objects as well. Things like, for example, there's a rubber ducky which is going to obviously outfloat the Titanic, and it says on the side, the Titanic's name. You're going, is that really appropriate? To have this thing in the bath with you. Anyway, it's we weren't there for the gift shop. We would have gone into the experience, but it was just so full. But we took a tip. We had lunch with a wonderful archaeologist called Raina Maguire. Do follow her on Twitter. She's a very funky individual. And she said, if you go there and it's full, don't cram yourself in. Go and see the SS Nomadic, which is in the dry dock. And so we did. We walked on over, Mrs. Soup and her parents and I, and it was wonderful, absolutely wonderful. The SS Nomadic was, like I said, a tender ship for the Titanic route, but it was recently purchased. It was purchased in 2006, having previously been a nightclub on the River Seine opposite the Eiffel Tower. And people were going, oh, why are you buying that ship? That looks really dodgy, But they spent quite a lot of money bringing it back up to spec. They went round searching for things like the original clock, which had been sold in auction somewhere or whatever, and features which really bring the ship back to life. And it was well worth it, because it's, as the tour guide says, it's a microcosm of society at the time, just like the Titanic itself would have been, or indeed was, or indeed is, I suppose. The Nomadic gives you a real sense that there's a whole port, there's like maybe a third of the ship, maybe even getting on to half the ship, which is just for first class. There's a third which is for second class, and then there's a little bit at the end which is for third class passengers. And that's only when there are so few of them as to not warrant putting out their little rubbishy ship called the SS Traffic to ferry them to the Titanic. There's a sort of steerage, sort of, I don't know, place where you might put your suitcases, raw bulkhead, exposed metal, this kind of thing. In first class, it's luxury. You have sort of scrolling on the ceiling around the windows. The toilets were wonderful. They had flushing toilets, and they'd actually restored them to have actual crappers. Mr. Crapper is the person who put a patent on the flushing toilet, and they had versions of these toilets in the first class bathroom. They had painstakingly copied a piece of, was it linoleum? I'll put the word below. This flooring, which was found outside the first class bathroom during renovation, they'd copied it. The company still exists today that made it, and they'd used the pattern to restore the upper and the lower first class decks to have this wonderful pattern on the floor. But the whole ship, as you go through it, goes ornate and beautiful, a little bit less ornate, downright brutal, and that's society. And what was really funky is that they had this sort of section exposed where you could see the tunnel where the workers go from one end of the ship to the other, underneath, so sort of crouched underneath, so as not to be seen by the first class passengers. No one wants to see these people, as it were. The illusion of the ship working almost magically was the whole point. It was luxury, it was decadence, and it was to give you a sense, a little taste in that 40-50 minute voyage out to the Titanic as to what it was you're going to get when you got on board. People were paying outrageous sums of money for a ticket, and therefore this tender ship, built at the same time as the other two, was designed to begin that experience, because the port in northern France was too shallow to really take a ship like the Titanic, so they had this smaller ship built in to ferry passengers out. And it did. In 1912, April the 10th, I believe, they ferried 247 passengers out. Many of them never returned. And what was really good, though, was that the tour guide didn't labour that point. He obviously pointed it out. He said, this is the reason why we've got this ship, this is what its history is. And actually it had a history beyond the Titanic. It served in the First and Second World War. It was used as troop transport, for example. There are photos of it with just covered in like 1,000 literally 1,000 soldiers. And then, as I say, eventually it became a nightclub in Paris. So it had a history, but obviously they did remind you that it was involved with the Titanic and that last voyage. So it was well worth saving. And as I say, little details like the White Star logo on the porthole covers, the shutters, were just wonderful to see. So well worth a visit, and well done for those people who actually have just put so much passion into restoring, bringing this stuff back together and making the SS Nomadic something of what it once was. So there you go, guys. I really wanted to tell you about the SS Nomadic, and if you want in the future, I'd be happy to make, for example, an in focus video about that ship, and maybe other similar things. If you want not just ancient archaeology, but some more recent stuff as well, I'll be happy to do that. But if you ever get a chance, definitely do go and see the Nomadic. You won't be disappointed. It was well worth a visit. So in addition to that, I just want to very quickly let you know that, as I say, that there are videos in the pipeline coming up, but also this afternoon, Liv and I will be starting the process of analysing the feedback that you gave us via that survey on the shape of soup, as it were. What sort of soup do you want? We're really pleased with the feedback that we've got. It's a good range of topics and ideas which have been shared and pointed out. And more than 50 but less than 100 responses, which is a good amount. It means we can well go through it without too much hassle, but also it's a large enough sample that we're likely to cover most people's concerns. So we'll be drawing out key themes from that feedback, and towards the end of August, putting it all together in a proposal video for the Patreon, and for you guys to consider supporting your favourite YouTube channel. Anyway, that's basically where we're at. It's been a long week catching up with stuff, with Archaeosoup work, but on a manky morning like this, I simply had to tell you guys about the SS Nomadic, because it's a wonderful ship. Anyway, guys, as ever, until next time, do take care. Bye bye.